I don't trust anyone's smile anymore, except yours. That's what he'll say to her 3 years from now, in a cafe where rain turns to sunlight and second chances feel possible. But tonight, on this rooftop 40 floors above a city that never stops lying, Sophia Lane doesn't know if her smile will save them both or destroy everything. Her phone buzzes one last time. Smile, look vulnerable, make him talk. She tucks it away, breathes in the cool night air, laced with expensive cologne and distant traffic, and steps onto the rooftop terrace where chandeliers hang like frozen stars. Adrian Blake is already there. He stands near the glass railing, perfectly still in a dark suit, watching the skyline as though calculating the worth of every building. When he turns, his gaze moves over her, not hungry, not impressed, assessing, like she's a contract he's deciding whether to sign. "You're early," he says. His voice is low, measured, carrying the weight of someone who's learned that words are cheaper than actions. Sophia forces brightness into her tone. "I thought being late was rude." "Most people think honesty is rude." He gestures toward a table set with wine and candlelight. "Sit. Tell me why you're really here." She hesitates, then sits. The leather chair is soft, expensive, like everything else in Adrian Blake's world. She reminds herself of the cover story her team built. Designer, marketing background, grew up modest but stable, looking for connection after a bad breakup. All lies except the last part. "A friend set this up," she says lightly. "Blind date. You?" "I don't do blind dates." Adrian pours wine without asking if she wants any. "I do calculated risks." Her practiced smile wavers. He notices immediately. "Interesting," he murmurs, settling into his chair. "Your expression just changed 3 times in 2 seconds. Either you're nervous or you're working very hard to appear nervous." "Why would I fake being nervous?" "That's what I'm trying to figure out." The air between them shifts, charged with something Sophia didn't anticipate. She feels the weight of the microphone taped beneath her dress, the tracker in her bracelet, the eyes of her FBI team on monitors miles away. She's supposed to be in control here, but Adrian Blake doesn't look at her like she's a stranger on a first date. He looks at her like he's reading a book she didn't know she'd written. "I'm not hiding anything," she says softly. "Everyone's hiding something, Sophia. The question is whether it's worth protecting." He lifts his glass. She mirrors the gesture, and when crystal touches crystal, the sound is clear and fragile. "To honesty," he says, "however brief it might be." She drinks. The wine is rich, dark, warming her throat. And somewhere beneath her ribs, something tightens that has nothing to do with the mission. Who is this man, she wonders, and why does he feel like the answer to a question I haven't asked yet? Adrian Blake asks questions the way a chess player moves pieces, quietly, purposefully, always 3 moves ahead. "So," he says, swirling his wine, "marketing. What exactly do you market?" "Lifestyle brands, high-end wellness products." Sophia delivers the rehearsed line smoothly. "It's about creating emotional connection, making people feel seen." "Fascinating." He sets down his glass with deliberate care. "I grew up in a neighborhood where wellness meant you didn't get jumped walking to school. What about you? Where'd you grow up?" She blinks. "New Jersey, small town, modest." "Which town?" "Ridgewood." Adrian tilts his head slightly, a predator catching an unfamiliar scent. "Ridgewood isn't modest, it's affluent, Country clubs, private schools, old money. Sophia's pulse kicks hard. Damn. I meant, my family was modest. We lived on the outskirts. Ah. He doesn't argue, doesn't press. But his eyes linger on her face with patient curiosity, like he's giving her rope to see if she'll hang herself with it. She pivots fast. What about you? You said you grew up rough. South Bronx. My mother cleaned office buildings at night so I could eat during the day. His tone remains factual, almost detached. I learned early that the world doesn't give you anything. You take it or you disappear. Sophia's breath catches. That detail isn't in his file. The official FBI reports paint Adrian Blake as a ruthless operator, a mafia boss who clawed his way up through violence and intimidation, now hiding behind legitimate businesses. No one mentioned his mother, no one mentioned hunger or survival. I'm sorry, she says, and the words slip out before she can stop them. Genuine, unguarded. Adrian studies her for a long, uncomfortable moment. Are you? Yes. Why? Because no child should grow up afraid of being hungry. Silence falls between them, thick and strange. Adrian leans forward slightly, elbows on the table, and for the first time tonight, something shifts in his expression. A crack in the armor, brief as lightning. You do something unusual, he says quietly. When you lie, your whole face performs. Eyes, mouth, posture, everything's coordinated. But when you tell the truth, you forget to manage any of it. Her heart hammers against her ribs. Maybe I just don't perform emotions about painful things. Maybe. He picks up his glass again, studying the wine like it holds answers. Or maybe you've been trained so well to compartmentalize that you've forgotten which parts of yourself are authentic. Sophia looks away, toward the city lights bleeding into the dark sky. She thinks of her brother Danny, his terrible jokes, the way he called her Inspector Gadget when she asked too many questions, the morgue photo she's memorized against her will. The gang war that killed him was never officially solved. No arrests, no justice. Just a closed file and a grief that never quite heals. When she looks back, Adrian is still watching her with that unsettling intensity. Tell me something true, he says. What? One thing, just one. I'll know if you lie. Every instinct screams at her to deflect, redirect, maintain the cover. But his gaze is unexpectedly gentle, like he's offering her something fragile, permission to be real, even if it's dangerous. I had a brother, she hears herself say. He died when I was 19. Gang violence. No one was ever held accountable. Adrian's jaw tightens. He nods once, Thuston, slowly, and something passes across his face that looks almost like recognition. I'm sorry, he says, and she knows, somehow impossibly, that he means it. The waiter arrives with appetizers. The moment passes, but its weight remains. When Adrian walks her to the elevator at the end of the night, he doesn't try to kiss her, doesn't ask for her number. He already has it. Instead, he says, I don't trust luck, Sophia. I trust the choices people make when they think no one's watching. And I choose to see you again. She nods, throat tight. In the car ride home, her phone buzzes. Team lead Marsh's message is curt. Excellent work. He's intrigued. Next phase, establish proximity and trust. But all Sophia can think about is the way Adrian looked at her when she mentioned Danny. Like he understood loss from the inside, like he'd carried his own dead, too. If this story is pulling at something inside you, subscribe and turn on notifications. Trust me, what happens next will challenge everything you think you know about loyalty and truth. The charity auction is held in a marble-floored gallery that smells of expensive perfume and older money. Sophia arrives in a borrowed gown, black, elegant, slightly too formal, and scans the room for Adrian. She finds him near a bronze sculpture, surrounded by men in tailored suits who lean in when he speaks. His posture is relaxed, hands in pockets, but his eyes are sharp, tracking every person who enters. When he sees her, he excuses himself and crosses the room in 5 strides. "You came," he says. "You invited me. I also invite auditors to review my taxes every year. Doesn't mean they show up looking like that." Despite everything, the wire taped to her skin, the mission directive burning in her pocket, she laughs. It's genuine, unexpected, the first real laugh she's had in weeks. Adrian's expression softens fractionally. "Come, I need to make a speech. Try not to judge me too harshly." He leads her to the front where a small podium waits. The auctioneer introduces him as a generous benefactor and pillar of the community. Sophia braces for corporate doublespeak, but then Adrian begins to speak. "I grew up believing that power was the only currency that mattered," he says, voice carrying easily through the space without microphones. "But my mother taught me something different before she died. She said, 'Power without responsibility is just cruelty with better clothes.' This scholarship fund exists because I believe her. Because kids who grow up the way I did deserve a chance to become something other than what poverty expects." The room applauds politely, but Sophia's chest tightens with something uncomfortable. This isn't in the profile, she thinks. This isn't who they said he was. After the speech, Adrian is pulled into conversations. Donors, politicians, people whose smiles are all teeth and calculation. Sophia slips away. Her target, his temporary office on the 2nd floor. Plant the listening device. 10 minutes maximum. The hallway is empty, camera blind spot confirmed by her tech team. She picks the lock in 14 seconds, FBI training, definitely not marketing skills, and steps inside. The office is smaller than expected, almost modest. A desk, a laptop, a leather chair worn at the armrests. She moves quickly, pulling the listening device from her clutch and crouching near the desk leg. The door opens behind her. Sophia freezes, mind racing through cover stories. Adrian steps inside, closes the door with a soft click, and leans against it. He doesn't look angry or surprised. He looks resigned. "Dropped an earring," she says immediately, standing. Her voice is steady, even as her pulse hammers. She holds up her hand as if checking her ear. Adrian doesn't respond. He just crosses to her in 3 measured strides, stopping close enough that she can smell cedar and something darker, whiskey maybe, or smoke from the vintage cigar someone was smoking downstairs. "I'm not going to insult either of us by pretending I believe that," he says quietly. Her breath catches. "Adrian, but I'm also not going to ask what you were really doing." He reaches out slowly, giving her time to move away, and adjusts the strap of her gown that slipped off her shoulder. His fingers are warm, careful, respectful. "Because I've decided something." "What?" "That whatever you think you need to do, you believe it's right, and I'm going to trust that, for now." He steps back, adjusts his cufflinks with deliberate casualness. "See you downstairs," he says, and then he's gone, door closing soft as a secret. Sophia sinks into the chair, hands shaking. She planted the device. Mission successful. So why does she feel like she just committed an unforgivable betrayal? 3 days later, Sophia sits in a windowless briefing room wearing headphones, listening to Adrian's intercepted calls. Most are mundane, business transactions, coded language her team is slowly deciphering. But nothing explosive, nothing criminal enough to justify an arrest warrant. Her supervisor, Agent David Marsh, leans over her shoulder, coffee breath and impatience. "He's too careful. We need leverage." "I'm working on it," Sophia says tightly. "Work faster." The district attorney wants this case closed before midterms. Political pressure, Lane. Real pressure. She nods without looking at him. That night, unable to sleep, she opens her personal files from the archive room. Files they told her were sealed, but that she copied years ago. Danny's case, her brother's death. The official report is sparse, caught in crossfire between two rival gangs near the Brooklyn docks. No arrests, case closed due to lack of evidence and witness cooperation. But tucked in the back of the investigative notes, there's a name she's never focused on before. Adrian Blake, person of interest, unsubstantiated. Her blood turns to ice. She brings it to Marsh first thing in the morning, file slapping onto his desk. "You never told me Blake was connected to my brother's case." Marsh doesn't even look up from his computer. "It wasn't relevant to your assignment." "It's completely relevant. He might have been involved in Danny's murder. Or he might not have been. The connection was speculative at best. Then why is his name in the file at all?" Marsh finally meets her eyes, and there's something cold in his expression. Calculation without empathy. "Because we needed names, Lane. Threads to pull if the case ever got political traction. Blake was convenient, young, ambitious, on the rise, but we never had enough evidence to charge him with anything." Sophia's stomach turns. "So you just left his name there, attached to an unsolved murder, to use as leverage later?" Welcome to how investigations work in the real world. She walks out before she says something that ends her career on the spot. That evening, her phone buzzes. "Adrian, dinner tonight? My place, I'll cook." She shouldn't go. Every protocol, every boundary screams at her to maintain distance. She goes anyway. Adrian's penthouse is nothing like she expected. No ostentatious displays of wealth, no leather and gold. It's warm, wood floors that creak slightly, soft lighting from lamps instead of fixtures. A kitchen filled with the smell of garlic and tomatoes simmering. He's at the stove, sleeves rolled up, stirring a pan. "You cook?" she asks, genuinely surprised. "My mother's recipe. The only thing she had time to teach me before she passed." He doesn't look up from the stove. "Red sauce, simple. She said you could tell everything about a person by how patient they were with a good sauce." Sophia sets down her bag slowly. "What does yours say about you?" "That I learned to wait for things that matter. They eat in comfortable silence. The pasta is perfect, nothing fancy, just flavor and care woven together." Halfway through the meal, Sophia sets down her fork. Her heart is pounding so hard she's certain he can hear it. "Can I ask you something?" Adrian looks up. "Always. 8 years ago, there was a gang shooting near the Brooklyn docks. A young man was killed. His name was Danny Lane. Adrian's fork stops halfway to his mouth. He sets it down carefully, deliberately, and his entire posture changes, becomes still in a way that's almost dangerous. "I remember that night," he says quietly. Her pulse roars in her ears. "You do?" "I was nearby, not involved in the shooting. I don't deal in that kind of chaos. But I heard the gunfire. I called 911, stayed until I heard sirens coming." His eyes are steady, unflinching. "But by the time they got there, the kid was already gone." "Why didn't you stay and talk to police?" "Because men like me don't volunteer information to cops, even when we should. Even when it might help." Sophia's throat constricts. "The reports suggested you might have been involved, that you might have given the order." "I didn't." "How do I know that's true?" Adrian holds her gaze without wavering. "You don't. But I'll tell you this, the man who gave that order, he's dead now. I made sure of it. Not because I'm a hero. I'm not. But because I have lines, and killing kids crosses all of them." The room spins slightly. Sophia grips the edge of the table. "That was my brother," she whispers. "Danny Lane. He was my brother." Adrian goes completely still. For 3 seconds, he doesn't even seem to breathe. "What?" "He was 22. He was funny and kind, and he called me every Sunday, even when I was impossible to talk to. And for 8 years, I thought no one cared that he died." Her voice cracks. "No one except me." Adrian stands abruptly, crosses to her, and kneels so they're eye level. His hands hover near hers but don't touch, giving her the choice. "I'm sorry," he says, and his voice is raw in a way she's never heard. "I am so goddamn sorry I couldn't help him, that I wasn't faster, that all I could do was call for help that came too late." And then she's crying, ugly, gasping sobs she's held in for nearly a decade. And he pulls her into his arms, careful and strong, and holds her while she breaks apart. When she finally stops shaking, she whispers against his shoulder, "You tried to save him. It wasn't enough. You tried. That's more than anyone else did." They stay like that for a long time, the pasta going cold, the city lights glowing through the windows. And Sophia realizes with sudden, terrifying clarity that this man, this supposed criminal, might be the only person who's ever truly witnessed her grief without trying to fix it. Over the next 2 weeks, Sophia and Adrian fall into something that terrifies her precisely because it feels so natural. He takes her to his old neighborhood in the South Bronx, shows her the bodega where his mother used to buy day-old bread at a discount, the park where he learned to fight because being small meant being a target, the street corner where he made his first protection deal, not selling drugs, he tells her, but keeping smaller shop owners safe from larger predators who'd crush them. "It's still operating outside the law," she says. "It's survival," he replies. "There's a difference between choosing crime and being born into a world where crime is the only option that doesn't mean starvation." She wants to argue, can't. One evening, they're caught in a sudden rainstorm and duck into a cramped bookstore that smells of old paper and coffee. Sophia wanders the poetry section while Adrian pays for a worn collection at the counter. "You read poetry?" she asks, genuinely surprised. "My mother did. She said it was the only thing that reminded her she was more than her circumstances." He opens the book to a dog-eared page and reads aloud, "The truth you believe and cling to makes you unavailable. to hear anything new. Sophia goes still. That feels pointed. Maybe it should be. They lock eyes. Rain drums against the windows, turning the world outside into watercolor. I don't know what's real anymore, she admits quietly. Every time I think I understand who you are, something shifts. Then stop trying to categorize me. Just be here with me, right now. And she does. God help her, she does. The breaking point comes on a Thursday night when intelligence suggests Adrian's apartment is under threat. A rival faction making aggressive moves, rumors of an ambush being planned. His security team insists he relocate to a safe house immediately. He brings Sophia with him. The safe house is tucked in the woods 40 miles outside the city. Small, isolated, with a stone fireplace and windows overlooking dark trees. One bedroom, no distractions. You didn't have to include me in this, Sophia says, setting down her overnight bag. Yes, I did. Why? Adrian turns from the window where he's been watching the tree line. His expression is unguarded in a way she's never seen. Because if something happens to me, I need to know you're somewhere safe. I can protect myself. I know you can, but I can't stop wanting to protect you anyway. He crosses to her, stopping just close enough that she can feel his warmth. And before you ask why, it's because you're the first person in a decade who's looked at me and seen a human being instead of an asset or a threat. The vulnerability in his voice cracks something open in her chest. She reaches up, touches his face. Adrian, I know what you are, he says quietly. Her heart stops. What? You're not a marketing designer, Sophia. I've known that since our second date. The floor tilts beneath her. Then why did you? Because I wanted to see if you'd tell me the truth. His hand comes up, covers hers against his cheek. I wanted to believe that the woman who cried in my arms about her brother was real. That you weren't just playing a part. It was real, she whispers. All of it. I didn't mean to. I never expected to fall for the target. She flinches at the words. I didn't expect you to be someone worth protecting. Then we're both fools. He leans his forehead against hers. Because I knew you were here to destroy me. And I fell in love with you, anyway. And then he kisses her. It's slow, careful, devastating. His hand cradles the back of her neck like she's something precious. Her fingers grip his shirt like he's the only solid thing in a world that's spinning apart. They kiss like people who know this might be the only time. Like people who've been pretending so long they forgot what honesty tastes like. When they pull apart, Sophia is shaking. I'm supposed to arrest you, she breathes. I know. I don't want to. I know that too. She rests her forehead against his chest, listening to his heartbeat. Steady, human, real. What do we do? We have tonight. Let that be enough for now. So they sit by the fire until dawn, talking about mothers and brothers and the impossible weight of choices. About what it means to seek justice in a world that punishes integrity. About whether redemption is something motivational, a story we tell ourselves, or something earned through the slow, painful work of becoming better than we were. And when the sun rises through the trees, casting gold light across the wooden floor, Sophia knows with absolute certainty she is in love with Adrian Blake, and it will require her to choose between her heart and everything she's ever believed about right and wrong. The call comes at 6 in the morning. shattering the fragile piece of the safe house like glass breaking in slow motion. Sophia's phone buzzes on the nightstand, once, twice, insistent. She reaches for it carefully, trying not to wake Adrian, who's finally sleeping after staying up most of the night watching the perimeter. Marsh's name on the screen. Her stomach drops before she even answers. Lane. His voice is clipped, urgent, carrying the particular edge that means something big is happening. We're moving tonight. Port Warehouse, Pier 47. Blake has a meeting with his suppliers at midnight. We'll have everything we need to make multiple arrests, shut down his entire operation. Sophia slides out of bed carefully, moves to the bathroom, closes the door before responding. Tonight? That's fast. We've been building this for 8 months. We have the warrant. We have the surveillance. We have you inside his inner circle. She can hear him typing, probably reviewing operation details. You'll be wired. Your job is simple. Keep him talking. Keep him at the location until we move in. This is it, Lane. Your brother's death, Blake's operation, all of it comes to a close tonight. Her reflection in the bathroom mirror looks pale, hollow-eyed. Understood. Meet at the staging area at 10 for briefing and equipment check. And Lane? He pauses. Good work getting close to him. I know it wasn't easy, but this is what real justice looks like. Sometimes we have to get our hands dirty to catch the people who deserve it. She hangs up with trembling hands. Adrian is making coffee when she emerges, moving quietly in the small kitchen. He's fully dressed, alert despite the lack of sleep. Old habits from a life where letting your guard down could mean death. Work? He asks without turning, voice carefully neutral. Yeah, they need me to come in for a briefing. He nods, pours 2 cups of coffee. When? 10. I'll drive you back to the city. They drink coffee in silence, watching through the window as morning light filters through trees, turning everything soft and golden. It should be peaceful. It feels like the last moment before everything explodes. That afternoon, her phone buzzes again. Adrian. Come to my office at 5. There's something important I need to show you. She arrives exactly on time. The building is eerily empty. His security team dismissed early. Assistants sent home. Even the usual ambient noise of a functioning business absent. Just the 2 of them in his top-floor office, city lights beginning to glow in the dusk below like distant fires. Adrian is standing by the window, silhouette dark against the fading sky. He doesn't turn when she enters. I've been thinking about trust, he says quietly, voice carrying in the empty space, about how it's the only currency I value, more than money or power or safety, the only thing I'll risk absolutely everything to protect. Sophia's pulse quickens. Adrian, what's going on? He turns. On the desk between them is a manila file folder, thick with documents that look official and damning. Her file. Her real name printed in bold across the tab. Her badge number visible on the first page. Photos of her in FBI tactical gear during training exercises. Complete transcripts of her mission briefings, including Marsh's explicit instructions. Establish romantic connection if necessary, whatever it takes to gain access to his inner circle. He's careful. You need to make him trust you on an emotional level. I've known since the first week, Adrian says calmly, crossing to his desk and opening the file. My people pulled your actual background the morning after our first date. Your cover was good, professional, thorough, would have fooled most people. But I don't stay alive by accepting surface appearances. The room tilts sickeningly. Sophia grips the back of a chair. Then why did you? Because I wanted to see if you'd tell me the truth eventually. He looks at her, and there's such sadness in his eyes it nearly breaks her. I wanted to believe that the woman who mourned her brother in my arms was real. That at least some of what happened between us wasn't just a script you were following to manipulate me into incriminating myself. Adrian, her voice cracks. It was real. The tears, the conversations, the way She can't finish, can't say it out loud. Was any of it real, Sophia? His voice breaks, just barely. A hairline fracture in his iron control. The poetry in the rain, the fire at the safe house, the way you looked at me like I was someone worth saving instead of someone you were hunting. Or was it all just exceptionally good acting? Her eyes burn with tears she refuses to let fall. Yes, God, yes. I didn't plan any of that. I never expected to feel. She forces herself to say it. To feel the way I do about you. To fall in love with you. That was never supposed to happen. Adrian's jaw tightens. He looks away, back toward the window. Then we're both idiots, because I knew exactly what you were. And I let you past every defense I've spent 20 years building. I knew you were here to destroy me, and I fell in love with you anyway. He picks up the file, sets it aside, then pulls something else from his desk drawer. A USB drive, small and innocuous. Tonight, your team is moving on Pier 47. They have a warrant based on evidence that's been partially falsified. He places the drive on the desk between them. Someone in your agency has been planting documentation to guarantee my conviction, not because I'm guilty of everything they're accusing me of, but because I refused to cooperate with their operations. Sophia's mouth goes dry. What are you talking about? Your supervisor, David Marsh, he's been running protection schemes through your task force for 6 years, taking payments from the Castellano crime organization, falsifying evidence to eliminate their competition while appearing to fight organized crime. Adrian's voice is steady, factual, but there's rage underneath. Controlled, focused, dangerous. He's been using federal resources to do the mob's dirty work while collecting a government paycheck. He pushes the USB drive toward her. This contains financial records, offshore accounts in his name, audio recordings of him coordinating with Castellano lieutenants, video surveillance of cash transfers, and most importantly, his voice softens slightly, the truth about your brother's death. The actual chain of command that led to that shooting. Marsh was taking money from the gang that killed Danny, and he personally buried the investigation to protect his asset. Sophia's legs nearly give out. She grips the edge of the desk, knuckles white. You're saying Agent Marsh, let my brother's murder go unsolved to protect a criminal he was being paid by? Yes, and he's been using your grief as motivation to keep you focused, driven, willing to do whatever it takes to close cases. He weaponized your trauma to make you a better tool. She's going to be sick. She can feel it rising in her throat. Why are you giving this to me? The words come out hoarse. Adrian steps closer but doesn't touch her, respecting her space even now, even in this moment. Because tonight you have a choice to make. You can go through with the arrest, do your job exactly as Marsh instructed. Let him close this case with falsified evidence and bury the truth forever. You'll keep your career, your reputation, your sense of duty fulfilled. Or you trust me one more time, and we expose everything. Together, we bring down the people actually responsible for your brother's death, and God knows how many other injustices. Sophia stares at the USB drive like it's a bomb that might detonate at any moment. If I do this, she says slowly, every word an effort, I lose everything. My badge, my credibility, my future in law enforcement. Possibly my freedom if they decide to prosecute me for going rogue. I know. So why would you ask me to risk that? Why not just disappear? You could run. You have the resources. Adrian's hand comes up, gentle, and brushes a strand of hair from her face, a gesture so tender it makes her throat close. Because you're the first person I've met in 15 years who cares more about justice than revenge, who wants to do the right thing even when it's hard, even when it costs you. His thumb traces her cheekbone. And because if we don't stop people like Marsh, your brother's death was just the first. There will be others. Kids will keep dying while men in suits collect paychecks for looking the other way. The truth settles in her chest like a stone, heavy, solid, undeniable, impossible to ignore. Sophia closes her fingers around the USB drive, feeling its weight against her palm. What's the plan? She asks. Relief flickers across Adrian's face, brief but unmistakable. The meeting tonight is real. I do have business contacts arriving at Pier 47, but it's not drugs or weapons or anything they're claiming. It's a setup. Marsh is planning to arrest me with planted evidence. We're going to turn it around, broadcast everything to people who can't be bought. Inspector General, independent journalists, the Senate Oversight Committee. Make sure the truth goes public before anyone can bury it. That's incredibly dangerous. Yes, we could both end up in prison or dead. Also, yes. Sophia looks at him, really looks at him. At the man who called 911 for a stranger's brother, who built scholarship funds for kids who grew up hungry, who fell in love with a woman sent to destroy him and chose vulnerability anyway, who's offering her a chance to actually honor Danny's memory instead of just pretending to pursue justice. Okay, she whispers, let's burn it all down and see what's left standing. Pier 47. At midnight is a landscape of shadows and rust, the smell of salt water and diesel fuel thick enough to taste. Floodlights cut harsh angles through fog rolling off the harbor. Sophia stands near a shipping container, earpiece in place, microphone taped to her sternum, heart hammering hard enough that she's certain it's audible through the wire. Marsh's voice crackles through her earpiece. Lane, position confirmed? Affirmative, in place. Blake's vehicle approaching from the south entrance. Remember, keep him talking for minimum 5 minutes. We need him on record discussing the transaction before we move. Everything needs to be admissible. Sophia touches the USB drive hidden in her jacket pocket, a small weight that feels like it contains the whole world. Understood. This is it, Lane. 8 months of work comes down to the next 20 minutes. Your brother would be proud. You're getting justice for him tonight. The words should feel triumphant. Instead, they taste like ash. Adrian arrives in a black SUV, flanked by two men she recognizes as his primary security detail, Marcus and Chen, both former military, both loyal to Adrian in a way that suggests he's earned it rather than bought it. He's wearing a dark coat against the November cold, hands in pockets, posture relaxed in a way that doesn't quite hide the tension in his shoulders. He crosses to her slowly, deliberately, giving the hidden surveillance teams time to focus their equipment. He stops close enough to whisper, "You ready?" Terrified. "Good, so am I." His hand brushes hers, brief and warm. "Trust me." He raises his voice, projecting to the hidden microphones. "You wanted this meeting, Agent Lane. You said you had information about threats to my operation. Here I am. Let's hear it." This is the moment, the scripted code phrase that will bring the tactical team rushing in to arrest him with fabricated evidence, close the case, earn her commendations, and Marsh's approval. Instead, Sophia takes a breath and says clearly, voice steady, "I need you to listen very carefully, Adrian, because I'm about to tell you something that will either save us both or destroy us, and everyone listening through surveillance equipment needs to hear this too." Marsh's voice explodes in her ear. "Lane, what the hell are you doing? Abort this immediately. Give the signal now." She reaches up, pulls out the earpiece, and drops it to the concrete where it lands with a small, final click. Adrian's eyes widen fractionally. Then he nods, almost imperceptibly. "Go." "Agent David Marsh," Sophia says, voice carrying in the cold night air, "has been operating illegal protection schemes through the FBI's Organized Crime Task Force for a minimum of 6 years. He has accepted bribes totaling over $3 million from the Castellano crime family. He has systematically falsified evidence to eliminate their competition while maintaining the appearance of fighting organized crime. And 8 years ago, he personally covered up the murder of Daniel Lane, my brother, to protect a paid informant who was generating intelligence for his operation." Silence for 3 heartbeats, then chaos. Marsh's voice no longer through the earpiece, but echoing across the pier from hidden loudspeakers, amplified and furious. "Stand down. Agent Lane is compromised. She's been manipulated by the target. Tactical teams, move in now. Take Blake into custody and restrain Lane." But Adrian is already moving, pulling Sophia behind the shipping container as his security team steps forward, weapons drawn but pointed down, defensive posture, not aggressive threat. "Federal agents, drop your weapons," someone shouts from the darkness. "No!" Adrian's voice cuts through the night, amplified by something, a microphone, a wire he's wearing that isn't FBI equipment. "Because every word spoken here tonight is being recorded and simultaneously transmitted to the U.S. Attorney General's Office, the Department of Justice Inspector General's Office, the Senate Oversight Committee, and 3 independent news organizations with instructions to publish everything if we don't check in within the hour." Marsh steps into the floodlights, gun drawn, face twisted with rage and calculation. "You think you're clever, Blake? You think some recordings change anything? I have 8 months of investigation files showing you're running a criminal enterprise. Who do you think they'll believe? A decorated federal agent or a mafia boss?" "I think," Adrian says calmly, "you made 3 critical mistakes. First, you underestimated Agent Lane's commitment to actual justice rather than just following orders. Second, you assumed I wouldn't prepare for the possibility that you were corrupt, which was naive given your obvious connections. And third, he nods toward the water, where several additional figures are emerging from a boat. You forgot that real journalists don't work for people who can be bought. 2 women and a man step into the light, professional cameras running, press credentials visible. Sophia recognizes one of them, Sarah Chen, investigative reporter who's broken multiple corruption scandals. "We've been recording everything," Sarah says, camera trained on Marsh, multiple redundant feeds, already uploaded to secure servers. Whatever happens here tonight, this story is going public. Sophia steps out from behind the container, hands raised but steady, not in surrender but in defiance. "I'm Special Agent Sophia Lane, badge number 47239. I was assigned to go undercover and gather evidence against Adrian Blake. What I discovered instead was that my direct supervisor has been using federal law enforcement resources to enable organized crime while selectively prosecuting individuals who refused to cooperate with him." She pulls out the USB drive, holds it up. "I have documentation of financial transactions, audio recordings of criminal conspiracy, and evidence proving that Agent Marsh buried my brother's murder investigation to protect a criminal informant who was paying him." Marsh's gun trembles. "You're finished, Lane. You're both finished. You've destroyed your career for nothing. Those recordings won't hold up. I have friends. You had friends." A new voice interrupts. Everyone turns. A woman in a dark suit steps into the light, flanked by 4 federal marshals. She holds up identification, Inspector General's office. "Agent Marsh, I'm Inspector General Margaret Voss. We've been investigating irregularities in your task force for 6 months, based on an anonymous tip." She nods toward Adrian. "Mr. Blake has been cooperating with our investigation in exchange for immunity on certain charges. You're under arrest for bribery, obstruction of justice, conspiracy to commit murder, and violation of civil rights under color of law." The marshals move in. Marsh's gun is taken smoothly, professionally. He's cuffed, read his rights, led toward a waiting vehicle. As he passes Sophia, he spits. "You're just like him now, a criminal. You'll never work in law enforcement again." "Maybe not," Sophia says quietly, "but I'll sleep at night. Can you say the same?" Adrian crosses to her, takes her hand. His palm is warm, steady, real. "Whatever happens next," he says quietly, just for her, "thank you." For what? For choosing truth over safety. For believing that doing the right thing matters more than doing the easy thing. His thumb traces her knuckles. That's genuinely inspirational. The kind of courage most people only pretend to have. She squeezes his hand. "I'm not courageous. I'm terrified." Courage isn't the absence of fear. It's doing what needs to be done anyway. Inspector General Voss approaches them. "Agent Lane, you'll need to come with us for debriefing. Your cooperation tonight is noted and appreciated, but there are protocols." She looks at Adrian. "Mr. Blake, you're free to go for now. We'll be in touch about your continued testimony." Sophia nods. She understands. There will be investigations, reviews, questions. Her career is probably over. But for the first time in 8 years, she feels like she's actually honored Danny's memory instead of just wearing his death as motivation. As she's led toward a federal vehicle, she looks back at Adrian one last time. He's standing in the floodlights, coat collar turned up against the cold, watching her with an expression she can't quite read. Then he smiles, that real smile, the one he showed her that first night when she told him about her brother. The smile that says, "I see you, and you're worth believing in." She carries that with her into whatever comes next. 3 years later, Sophia Lane sits in a cafe in Portland, Oregon, watching rain tap gentle rhythms against the window, turning the street outside into a watercolor of grays and greens and soft edges. She's reading poetry, the same worn collection Adrian bought that day in the bookstore, a lifetime ago, when they were different people pretending to be different people, lies wrapped in lies until neither of them knew what was true. Her FBI badge is gone, suspended during the investigation, then revoked, then quietly reinstated under a different division after the Marsh prosecution concluded with 14 convictions and 36 related cases being reopened. She doesn't work undercover anymore. She teaches now ethics and investigative procedure at the FBI Academy in Quantico, helping new agents understand the difference between following orders and serving justice, between being loyal to an institution and being loyal to the principles that institution is supposed to represent. It's quieter, simpler. Some nights she sleeps without dreaming of the pier, of gunfire and her brother's face, and the weight of choices that can't be undone. The cafe is warm, smelling of coffee and cinnamon and rain-wet wool from people shaking off their coats. Outside, November in Portland looks a lot like November in New York, except the trees here are different, and the pace feels slower, and no one recognizes her, which is exactly why she chose this city when the FBI offered her the teaching position. The barista calls her name, not her real name, just the one she gave for the coffee order. She stands, crosses to the counter, and freezes. The man handing her the coffee is different from how she remembers. Older, with shorter hair and glasses that make him look academic instead of dangerous. He's wearing a flannel shirt and jeans, like every other Pacific Northwest transplant, seeking a quieter life, seeking redemption or escape, or just somewhere that doesn't know who they used to be. But his eyes are exactly the same. "Sophia Lane," Adrian Blake says quietly, voice warm with recognition and something deeper, relief maybe, or joy that's been held carefully for too long. "Fancy meeting you here." Her breath catches, coffee cup warm in her hands. How are you?" "Out. Witness protection, technically, though they call it supervised relocation now." He sets down the towel he was using to clean the espresso machine. "New name, new life. I testified against the Castellano organization, what was left of Marsh's network, and about a dozen mid-level operators who thought they were untouchable. In exchange, I got time served and the chance to start over somewhere no one knows Adrian Blake." "And you just happened to relocate to Portland?" She's smiling despite herself, despite the shock, despite everything. His answering smile is slow, genuine, carrying 3 years of patience and hope and quiet determination. "I don't believe in coincidence, remember? I believe in choices. I chose to be somewhere you might eventually find me, or where I might find you if you were looking." Sophia laughs, shaky, disbelieving, filled with something that feels dangerously close to joy. "You found me first." "I did." "How?" "I'm very good at finding people when I'm properly motivated. And you," his voice softens, You've been my motivation for 3 years. Another barista pokes her head around the corner. Hey, Chris, you good for a few minutes? I can cover the counter. Adrian, Chris apparently, nods. Thanks, Elena. He comes around the counter, gestures toward an empty table in the corner. Can we sit? Or do you need to run? I have nowhere to be. They sit across from each other at a small table by the window, and for a moment, neither speaks, just looks, taking in 3 years of changes, laugh lines, gray hair starting at his temples, new scars she doesn't know the stories behind yet. You look good, he says finally. Settled, more at peace than the last time I saw you. So do you. Different, less like you're waiting for the world to attack. It helps when you're not actually running a criminal enterprise. He wraps his hands around his own coffee cup. Turns out making lattes is significantly less stressful than coordinating protection rackets. Who knew? She laughs for real this time. Is that what you do now? Make coffee? I co-own this place with Elena. She's the creative one, develops all the specialty drinks, the seasonal menu. I handle business operations, finances, making sure we're compliant with health codes and labor laws. His smile is self-deprecating. Turns out I'm actually good at running legitimate businesses. I just spent 20 years not trying. And you're happy? He considers this seriously. I'm working on it. Some days are harder than others. Some days I miss the adrenaline, the power, the feeling of being important. But then I remind myself that I'm alive, I'm free, and I'm not destroying lives to maintain my lifestyle. That's progress. Sophia reaches across the table, takes his hand. His palm is warm, familiar, real. I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you too. I heard about the teaching position, about the new training curriculum you developed, about how you're changing how the Bureau thinks about ethics and accountability. It's small compared to what needs to change, but it's something. Small things matter. That's what I'm learning. He turns his hand over, laces their fingers together. One good cup of coffee at a time. One student who learns to question orders that don't feel right. One person choosing truth over convenience. That's how the world actually changes. They sit in comfortable silence, watching rain slide down the window, watching people hurry past outside with umbrellas and urgent expressions. Why now? Sophia asks finally. You could have reached out any time in 3 years. I wanted to make sure I'd actually changed, that I wasn't just performing rehabilitation while waiting to slide back into old patterns. He squeezes her hand. I wanted to become someone worthy of a second chance before I asked you for one. Her throat tightens. Adrian, I know we can't go back. I know what we had was built on lies and missions, and too much pain for anyone to carry forever. His eyes hold hers, steady and honest. But I also know that what I felt for you was real, that you changed my life, that you made me want to be better than I was. And I needed to tell you that, to thank you, even if this is all we ever have. Sophia looks at their joined hands, at the rain clearing outside to reveal pale sunlight, at this man who was supposed to be her enemy and became her awakening. I felt real things too, she says softly. Even when I was lying about everything else, what I felt for you was true. I fell in love with you despite every reason not to, and that love... She takes a shaky breath. It's still there, quieter maybe, more complicated, but real. Adrian goes very still. Sophia, I'm not saying it's simple. I'm not saying we can just pick up where we left off, like nothing happened. We both have trauma, consequences, histories that don't just disappear because we want them to. I know. But I'm saying, she squeezes his hand, that I'd like to try, slowly, honestly, no missions, no lies, just two people who made terrible choices and somehow found each other on the other side of them. The smile that spreads across his face is like sunrise, slow, warm, transforming everything. That sounds motivational, inspirational even, like something you'd embroider on a pillow. She laughs through tears she didn't realize were falling. It sounds impossible. Maybe, but we've done impossible before. He stands, offers his hand. Coffee's on the house, and there's a park nearby with a pond. Very non-mafia, very wholesome. Want to walk? She takes his hand, lets him pull her up. That sounds perfect. They walk out together into the rain-washed afternoon, and Sophia thinks, this is what redemption actually looks like. Not grand gestures or dramatic transformations. Just two broken people, hand in hand, willing to be honest about their damage, while hoping they can build something new from the pieces. Willing to believe that love can survive truth, that integrity matters more than safety, that becoming better is a daily choice rather than a destination. That's what she carries forward now. Not perfection, not fairy tale endings where everything's magically fixed, just the hard, beautiful work of choosing truth, choosing growth, choosing each other, with full knowledge of the costs and complications and scars they both carry. They walk past puddles reflecting pale sky, past trees dropping the last of their autumn leaves, past people living ordinary lives who don't know they're witnessing a small miracle. Two people who shouldn't have survived each other, shouldn't have found a way through the darkness, shouldn't have earned a second chance, but did anyway, because the smile that started as a lie became the love that was true, because justice and redemption aren't opposites. They're both about choosing what's right over what's easy. Because even a mafia romance, a story born in shadows and surveillance and lies, can end in light if both people are brave enough to walk toward it. And as they enter the park where ducks paddle through rain-cleared water, and children play on swings, and the world feels gentle and possible, Sophia realizes she's not afraid anymore. Not of the past, not of the truth, not of loving someone the world said she should hate. Because love, real love, the kind earned through honesty and accountability, and showing up every day to do the work, doesn't ask permission. It just asks, are you brave enough to try? And the answer, finally, is yes. If this story touched something inside you, if it reminded you that courage and love can coexist even in impossible situations, please like this video and subscribe to the channel. We tell stories about people who choose truth over comfort, redemption over revenge, and love that's earned rather than given. Thank you for listening. Thank you for believing that even the most complicated stories can end in hope.